Hi everyone, welcome to my blog on brushes. Now obviously as a makeup artist, brushes are so important to us and we kind of, they're our tools, so we use them every single day. The one thing I really find shocking is when I look at my friends' makeup bags or when I see people on the train doing their makeup and I see kind of what state their brushes are in and also what kind of brushes they've got, because I think it's something that people tend to not really bother about. They tend to want to spend more money on a foundation, which I completely understand, more than they do on a brush. So what I'm going to do is just take you through the real basics of brushes that I think everyone should have in their makeup kit, and then gradually once you get confident and when you know what you're doing, then of course you can upgrade it and add to your collection, which is what we do. So the first thing, obviously for most people, is a foundation brush. Now I know a lot of people use their fingers, which I completely understand because it's quick and it's easy. The only thing I would say is that when I do it myself and I do my foundation on myself, sometimes I have been known to just use my fingers, I find it's very bitty and you get kind of patches. You get more, it's not very even on your skin, and throughout the day I really notice that I've got areas that I've missed or it hasn't rubbed in properly, plus your hands can be quite dirty and things like that, and throughout the day you're touching your face. So I personally just love to use a brush, and I think you just get the best results with a foundation brush. Things that I would recommend for people that do wear a slightly heavier foundation, they like a good coverage, I would go for something like a foundation brush which is flat like that. These are great. This one's from Bobbi Brown. I'm not sure on all of the names of all the brushes, but what I'll do is I'll put a link below and it will list all the brushes that I've used. This one's great. I mean, you get a really, really good coverage of this. But at the same time, if you have a look, you see how it's two-tone, so it's slightly lighter on the front and the top. That means that basically you only put the product up to the white bit of the brush, so you know not to use too much product. I mean, some people might get right in there with it and squish it all over their face, but actually you just need to use the tips of it just like that and then just apply it all over the skin. Slightly lighter coverage is my favourite, the SKUNK brush. As you can see, again, it's more two-toned, but it's slightly rounded like that, and it's quite fluffy. You can get these in slightly bigger sizes like this. So there's two different types here. Again, this one can be used as foundation, not a problem. With something like this, the bigger one, I would tend to use maybe a tinted moisturiser, and if you just want a really, really light coverage, again, you use circular motion. So what this does is this part goes on your skin and you use circular motion so it buffs the skin, so you're kind of waking up the skin while applying your foundation. So that's more for a dewy, very, very light coverage. And the smaller SKUNK brush, this one here, again, you only use the foundation up to the top, so you kind of use tapping motions like that, and again you apply but while buffing the skin. This one will give you a semi-medium coverage, I would say. I really like using these ones because they're quick and they go everywhere, but I also do like a kind of dewy finish with my foundation. This is really good if you want something very quick. As you can see here, this one's slightly angled as well. I've just washed this actually, so it's slightly damp, but it's got a bit of an angle to it. It's quite thick, as you can see all the way around. It's actually quite a thick brush. So again, very, very quick. I would say probably more of a fuller coverage too with this one. Go straight in, you don't have to go right in. It's quite a dense brush. So I would just tap it on. And then this one, again, like the first one, a bit more of stroking movements, but it gives a really, really good coverage and quickly, so it's quite good. This one I really, really like. This one's a slightly rounded one. As you can see, slightly fuller. Again, it's kind of a bit of a mixture of both. You can kind of use it as a foundation, so it will give you nice coverage, but also at the same time you can use it in circular motions. So it just depends what kind of thing you want, but I actually do use this for foundation quite a lot. I quite like this one as well because it gets right underneath the eyes and around the nose area, whereas if it's flat, the flatter foundation brushes, they're slightly more intricate, whereas with this one it kind of gets in all the nooks and crannies and rounded, so that are really, really nice. The other ones that I think are really important are things like a powder brush. A powder brush is slightly fluffy brush, so these are the ones that are the most common things that you see everywhere. The good thing about this is it's slightly oval, so it will just cover all over, so it will go onto the forehead, down the nose, so you can use the kind of slightly smaller ended here to do that, but then at the same time if you did want a lot of powder, it puffs and it's very, very soft. You see how soft that one is? So it gives you really good coverage and quickly, but at the same time you can also go around the nose area with it. This one's a lovely one. I think this is Real Techniques, this brush, but again, not really ridiculously expensive. You can get real hair ones as well if you prefer. These brushes, i.e. a powder brush, tend to be the most expensive. A blusher brush and a powder brush, let me just show you the comparisons between the two. This is a powder brush, slightly fuller, and this one's a blusher brush. Now as you can see the difference, this one's slightly flatter. And you see there the difference between this one's slightly flatter and slightly smaller. This is designed so you apply it to the apple of the cheek and it splays out and goes up in one movement. I mean, obviously you don't have to do that with a blusher. I tend to kind of do it in circular movements, but you can just pop it on the apple of cheek and brush upwards in. So that's the other thing. Also always feel them, because it depends. If you're very, very sensitive, you might want a softer brush. There are loads of really good fibre brushes and things like that out at the moment. Also vegan and vegetarian brushes. Again, they've perfected them so they're super soft. So just have a feel of it and see what kind of thing you want. You don't have to have two separate brushes for a powder and a blusher, but it's kind of helpful if you do. The other thing that not everyone needs these and not everyone particularly wants one, but I would definitely recommend it if you are prone to blemishes or spots or anything like that, is a concealer brush. These are different kinds of concealers. I just wanted to show them for you. I mean, these ones I tend to use under the eyes and things like that. I would tend to use something a bit smaller if it was a blemish, or even smaller than that. And then you can go kind of more intricate to the places. I would take the concealer and then pop it on with the brush. The thing is, if you use a concealer straight from the pot, you could transfer infections if your blemishes are open or anything like that. Then so I would be careful when it comes to that, and I would always try and use a brush. But if it's for things under the eyes, these ones are really good. This is like a little mini skunk brush, as you can see, very, very soft, and that you can just get right underneath the eyes. Sorry about that, was my pen. You can get right underneath the eyes with that, and around the little nooks and crannies. This one I love. It's a little bit more denser than this one. This one's a lot softer, and again I use this for concealer under the eyes, around the nose, just at those tiny little areas that you want, that you can't really get to with a foundation brush. Now these are eye blenders, as you can see here. This one's slightly thicker and fuller, and this one's slightly smaller. The great thing about these is they blend beautifully. So if you are kind of just doing a wash of eyeshadow on your eye, perfect. You just need to tap it into the eyeshadow, just simply blend it all over the eye, and it just gives you such a beautiful finish. The other thing is, if you are doing an intricate or a kind of going from light to dark eye and you want it all to blend together, this is perfect for just really blending out smoky eye. Because the good thing about this is if you keep going, it kind of blends it to nothing. So they're really, really great shapes. I mean, I use this brush an awful lot. This is a slightly smaller, denser one, and I tend to go into the crease with that one. But again, you do it in such a motion that it blends it all beautifully. Eyeshadow brushes, something like this, they're slightly rounder and flatter. Eyeshadow brushes are very personal, I think, because it's also how you feel, what they feel like on your hand and things like that. Again, I like quite a soft one. This one's from MAC. This one's a 213 from MAC. I really like the feel of that one. It's not too spiky, because if you're doing the eye area, please be careful, because actually, especially if you're doing it on someone else, I've used brushes before where I've had like people flinching and I'm like, oh, you okay? And they're like, yeah, your brush is really spiky. So really make sure that, especially when it comes to around the eye area, you want the softest brushes that are not going to hurt or not going to cause any irritation. So again, same with this one. This one's slightly thicker, but again, very, very soft. So really have a good feel of those. The thing is, I would say with slightly more expensive eyeshadow brushes, is that they're designed to go into one product, take it, apply it to the eye, and then you can go into a darker product. So say like you went from light to dark. The good thing is, if the brushes are really good quality, they won't mix it. If they're slightly cheaper, then they won't hold the product enough. So that's the only thing I would say with that kind of thing. But these are what I would call smudger brushes. Again, very different sizes. Let me put them in size order, like that. Very different sizes, all different shapes. This one's a slightly thicker one, so this one's quite good, so you can go right into the crease of the eye and blend it out a bit. This one's from Bold Metallics. This one, I love this. This is a 201. This one here, this one's Guru brushes. I love these brushes. It's very, very soft. I tend to use this one along the lash line and then blend it into the corner. And then something like this one is perfect for going along the lash line if you don't want a heavy line or anything like that. You just want a smoky eye, then something like that. It was slightly smaller. Again, this one can be a little bit spiky, so be a bit careful with that. But they're all quite soft. I would say if you're going to take something like this, you need to be really careful and make sure it is soft, because as I said, you're going along the lash line, it can be quite sensitive. Eyeliner. So eyeliners come in all different forms. It depends if you want to do a gel liner. A lot of eyeliners come with their own brushes, which is ideal. You can go for more of a slanty one, which is something like this. So these two here, see they're slightly angled. These are great for either eyebrows. You can use it through your eyebrow, or you can also use it if you want to take your eyeliner and you want to smudge it up a bit with a little bit of eyeshadow over the top. That's what I tend to use that for. Or as I said, you know, if you just prefer to use an angle brush, it does help if you're doing a flick too. So you kind of use it on the angle, draw in your line there and then flick it across. Each person's different. I've just recently, today in fact, I went out and bought myself this eyeliner brush, which is fantastic. You see how it's a bit of a weird angle. But I really like things like that. Actually, I find them quite helpful when you're doing eyeliner, because you can kind of manoeuvre it around to which area you want to go to. So if you want to go along there or whatever you want to do, I actually quite like it with a bend in it. But these are very, very precise, very, very thin liners. That's again if you want more of a precision with your gel liners or liquid liners or anything like that, or even if you just want to wet a powder and apply it. They're really good because they'll just give you a really slick line. The thing that I would say is looking after them is essential. I mean, realistically, you're probably going to wash them maybe once a month. I would try and wash them once a month just because they will get a bit groggy and a bit gross. Obviously, if you're using them every day like I do, I wash my brushes every single day. The thing that I've actually just bought today, which is actually brilliant, I've just washed all my brushes with it. This is £15 and this is Clean Apothecary, and this is Rose brush shampoo. Can you see that? That's great, and it's made from goat's milk. This is particularly for brushes and very sensitive, so it's not going to damage my brushes in any way. You can use a baby shampoo or just a normal shampoo, as long as it's not got too many chemicals or anything in it, because again, if you're using real hair brushes, you really need to look after them. The best way to do it is just damp the brush, get a little bit of the shampoo or the brush cleaner, whatever you're using, lather it out onto your hand like that so it goes a bit frothy, and then just rinse it underneath cold water. But always make sure that you lie your brushes flat onto a towel. The reason why you do this is because if any of them are wooden or anything like that and you leave them up like that, the water will seep down and it actually cracks the wood of the brush, so then they damage it and then they'll fall apart. So that's it really. Just make sure that if you're going to invest in brushes, they can be very expensive, but as I said, expensive brushes tend to last a lot longer. I mean, I've had some of my brushes for years and years and years, and I do look after them. So it is an investment. It's quite a nice gift, you know, for Christmas or birthday, or if you've got something special coming up and someone asks you if you want something. Brushes are always a beautiful gift. You don't have to get hundreds of brushes, it's not necessary. If it's just for yourself, then you can just go for the basics. Obviously, if you are a makeup artist, then you will want to expand your brush set. A lot of places do a basic brush set and then you just can keep adding to them. I'm going to put below a link of all the brushes that I think are really good that you can get on the internet or you can get all over the place, so I'll give you some of my recommendations as well. And I'll also try and label all the brushes that I've used and showed you today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any problems, give me a shout. If you've got any comments, do comment below. And I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye.